Hey, everybody, welcome back to Your Inside Track to Success. As always, I'm your host, Stewart Kraintz. We have another amazing guest for you this week. Before I go ahead and introduce her, please be sure to like and subscribe. Hit that little bell icon so that you continue to get the notifications whenever a new episode comes out. Again, later on this year, we will begin putting out 2 episodes a week. So I want to make sure you don't miss any of the amazing guests or messages that we have for you here on the show. And to jump right in with this week's guest, she is somebody that I think we get to hear from. We focused a lot on dreams and goals, aspirations, but haven't quite delved entirely into the how we get there in certain aspects, particularly the financial piece. We have had a few financial guests on, but nobody that quite offers what this guest has to offer. And she is an attorney based in Cleveland, Ohio. She is dedicated to supporting people in creating that generational wealth, passing on inheritance, and all the other nitty gritty details that we maybe don't know how to navigate ourselves. So I am super excited to invite Kori Whisenant on the show. Kori, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Stuart, so much for having me. I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to jump right in because there's so much to cover. How does one get into the type of work that you do, and what about it brings you alive, I should say, in the work with your clients?
My goodness, that question could last us the entire entire time. I'm a bit of a unicorn. As a estate planning attorneys, you would typically think, you know, had a poli sci degree, or most attorneys you think are a little bit more analytical or whatever it is. I have a psychology degree, so I have a BA in psych. I got into this. I think Elle Woods, from Legally Blonde, is my
Yes.
spirit animal, or a spirit person, I guess you should say. I literally went, I think I'm going to go to law school today.
Wow.
I'm not going to lie to you. When I was in college, I wanted to be a clinical psychologist. I wanted to have my chaise longue, and my clipboard, and, get to help my patients through whatever traumas or whatever things they were, going through. And I got to my junior year in college and found out that in order to get my master's, I would have to be forced to publish.
Mm.
So, I'd have to do research, and I'd have to do, testing and all that jazz, and actually publish at least 2 to 3 times a year. And that's not my thing. Like, I love to write and I love to express my opinion and express what I've found, but not forced. As in, like, I don't want to be told I need to do that. And so, knowing myself and knowing that that would have been a nightmare for me, um, I went to my advisor and I said, yeah, so what now? Because I have to have a master's, but I have no desire to do what it's going to take for me to get there. So where do I go? And he's like, if you want my honest opinion, I think you would have been a phenomenal psychologist, but I can see you as something else. And I went, what? And he was like, have you ever thought about going to law school?
Mm.
And I went, no. I was like mortally wounded. Like, I'm not political. That's not my thing. And and then he goes, could you stop now? He's like, no one is asking you to go into politics. No one's asking you to, be all, stuffed shirt if that's how you're feeling. Are you aware that lawyers are counselors too? I'll never forget that. I
Mm.
went, I never thought about it like that. And so he said to me, he goes, will you take this class? There was a psychology in the law class. And he said, if you love it, think about going to law school. But if you hate it, and you can actually tell me you hate it, and not just because you don't feel like dealing with it, you can tell me why you hate it, I will withdraw you from the class. It will not show up on your transcript, and I will personally re-enroll you elsewhere.
Wow.
I said, deal. I loved every minute of that class. And he goes, I knew you would. That's why I knew it was fine. And so I applied for law school. And it's been amazing because I've found wills and trusts, which is perfect for me. I am analytical. I love, dotting I's and crossing T's. I am hugely, detail oriented, but I also love the human element, which is why I loved psychology. And the wills and trusts is the perfect blend of both.
Mm-hmm.
It requires precision. It requires attention to detail, but it's a human element. It is an incredibly emotional base of law.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about it. You're thinking about your own mortality. You're thinking about your family. What's going to happen if you're not there to support them?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody gets cringy about that, which is why no one wants to talk to me. And I get it. But that's my mission in this world, is to make it about empowerment and not about death. It's to make it about, what can you do today? What can I help you to do to build that wealth, to make this about life, to make it about love, and not about what's going to happen when I'm no longer here. So I guess that's a bit of my story in a nutshell, that I fell into this and it is my passion. I love every minute of it.
Yeah.
I hope that answers your question.
It most certainly does. And I could actually feel all the energy behind everything you just said, as you responded. So I know you're clearly in the right place. You are not wasting yours or anyone else's time.
Thank you.
But in talking about the human element, I feel like, no offense, but lawyers in general get a really bad rap for being robots, being super analytical, no feelings, all of that. How does this specifically allow you to open up, relate to people in the work that you're doing while dealing with something that can be pretty heavy and serious and could have a lot of anger behind it, even depending on the circumstances of the estate planning?
So that's why I agree with you completely. The fact that I first have been trained to care about people's why. Because emotion is so heavy in this area, you need someone that isn't a box checker.
Mm-hmm.
I am not at all slamming on anybody that if that's how you practice, there's nothing wrong with that. But I truly believe that if you don't understand a person's fears or a person's wants, desires, you are not creating a plan that's going to do anything for them except for check a box.
Mm.
And so I love to approach estate planning as, the first thing I'm going to talk to you about is what scared you enough to come talk to me? Because that is exactly what happened. Something scared you, whether it's bad or good. Good could be, I just got married. I just found out I'm pregnant. I have my first grandchild. It could be I bought my first house. All of those are still scary in the fact that they're changes. They are new, diversions in your life. And so now you want to make sure, especially with that first baby, that you protect it,
Mm-hmm.
that you are nurturing it. So that's a good fear, that's going to want you to come in. But there's also those bad fears. Someone just passed away suddenly and they weren't prepared. And now their situation is a show.
Mm. Yeah.
Or you've just been named executor and you don't even know what that word means, let alone what to do with it. Those are probably ones that are going to make you come to me and go, please, dear God, save me. What can I do? And the others
Sure.
are, I'm really excited. Can we, what can I do to protect this new life?
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what scares you. So that's why I say that I'm a bit different in that way. And I love knowing more about your why as well as your what. And so it's nowhere near as cringy anymore. It's nowhere near as, let's not talk about this. That's a lot. I'm here to create an estate plan, or what I would call a legacy plan, that are going to make those fears do this. When I see my clients' shoulders come down, I've won. That is amazing for me. because now I know I've cleared that pain point.
I love it.
I've cleared what's freaking them out because I've made it legal that they can do something about it. So that's awesome.
So, yeah, no, absolutely. And I have to ask, you mentioned the fear several times. What are, in your experience, the biggest fears that the typical or most common clients of yours have that you see as they come through your door?
Yeah. My ideal client, or I actually work with Jenna Lear. She's my coach. And so that's how I know Val.
Shout out
Um,
Jenna Lear, shout out Val.
yes,
They have both been
indeed.
on this show.
Amazing women. If you don't know them, you need to. Seriously. She says my dreamy clients. My dreamy client would be parents of children 0 to 26. And so, and I have several reasons behind that, which we can get into later. But to answer your question, um, the fears that I usually see from them are about their children. It is what is going to happen to my children, especially those who are under the age of 17. No, 17 and younger, I should say, under 18. What's going to happen to them if I'm not here? Who's going to take them? How are they going, where are they going to live? How are they going to be cared for? Those three pain points are huge for me. And one of the biggest reasons is I'm a mom of little kids.
Yeah.
They are my peers. I have two sons, one that just turned 5 yesterday. He is thrilled to death about it. Been telling me all day, I'm 5 now, mommy. I'm a big boy. And I said,
Love
yes, you
that.
are, sweet boy. Yes, you are. And I've got a 12-year-old who is, sup, bruh? Yeah, I can. I've got both. I've got mommy and sup. So, but even he has his own, sets of fears. So I understand that whole dichotomy. And so I love being able to help my clients to make sure those kids are taken care of in every way possible. The other thing is my 18 to 26-year-olds, parents of those children it's a little bit different. They're now legally adults. And so the fears parents have now are, now that they're not my baby anymore, what do I do? What role do I have in their lives? What can I still do for them that will make sure that they're protected even if I'm not around? Because let's not lie, at 18, could we manage all of that? No. So I help those parents just to allow them to have some autonomy, but at the same time, behind the scenes, still making sure, like all of us do, that they're going to be okay. And so I write the documents for the parents, but then I also write the documents for the 18 to 26-year-old, because they now need to be able to make their own choices. And so I want to make sure before they, go out in that world that they're ready. So I guess that's a bit of the fears that I see a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. And I think you spoke really eloquently into this. I think most parents out there just want better for their children than they had for themselves. And
Exactly.
we have a 9-year-old, and I joke, but he is a teenager trapped in a 9-year-old's body. So he hits us with the sup and bruh and
Oh, good. I'm
all.
not alone.
Nope, not just you, not just you. But he has this sense of, I think, wanting to be autonomous much more so than he's ready for given his age. And I think that everything we see in social media about all the ills out there awaiting our children in the real world once they get beyond the comfort of their smartphone,
Yes.
I think has us all concerned as to what can we actually do for our kids to set them up to win, especially in times when everything is changing so rapidly, at least for me, much quicker than I feel like they did when we would have been children.
Oh, yeah.
I'm curious, what does like a basic plan look like in terms of setting up financial security for our children? Obviously, everybody you're going to work with is different, but what are the bare basics that parents should be thinking about, considering, things like
Sure.
that?
Yeah. For everybody 18 years and older, The basic plan, if you want to put it that way, is consistent of 5 documents.
Mhm.
They're your last will and testament. They are your healthcare power of attorney, financial power of attorney, living will, and your HIPAA release. So if you don't mind, I'll give a little bit of background on each of those just so at least you know
Yeah.
what you're looking at.
Yeah,
So
please.
sure. So your will is probably the one that everybody thinks of when they think of estate planning. You know, they always see it on television, they hear about the reading of the will, you know, all of those things, which PS never happens, just as a spoiler alert. Um, that's totally a movie thing. Um, a will is actually an instruction to a court. It transfers nothing, which might come as a shock to you. A lot of people think that if I have a will, I'm good to go. I don't need anything else. You couldn't be further from the truth. A will literally dictates to the probate court, which is the court that handles your assets upon your passing, you know, depending on when there's one in each county in the country. It is an instruction that tells that court what you wanted done with your things upon your passing and who they're going to, who's going to take care of it, all of that. Who it's going to are your beneficiaries. Who's going to take care of it is either your executor or executrix. Executor for male, executrix for female. So if you hear those terms, that's what those do. So most people want to avoid the probate court. That's one of their another big reason that they come see me is I don't want my
Mhm.
family to have to go through that court. And so they said, well, good, we just want to get our will done. And I'm like, well, good, but that's not going to help you stay out of court. The way that you do that is you make sure that your beneficiaries are match what's in that will. So
Mm.
what I mean by that is things that are titled in your name, your car, your house, your bank accounts, your investment accounts, you know, all things that, you know, would require your name to be removed from it upon your passing, need to have beneficiaries named, and those beneficiaries need to match that will. That's how you avoid probate. That's
Got
the
it.
basic way. The better way, especially for people with those little kids, are to have a trust, but we'll get there in a minute. So then you've got your powers of attorney, healthcare and finances. Those documents dictate who you trust, who you want to speak for you if you no longer can for yourself. So if you are sick, in the hospital, have a mental incapacity, you know, and you can't do for yourself, you need those documents in place in order to have someone assist you with your finances or make healthcare decisions. Not having them in place can be catastrophic
Mhm.
because who's going to pay your bills? That mortgage isn't going to pay itself.
Yeah.
Who's going to pay your child's tuition? Who's going to be able to even buy them food?
Wow.
All of those things. You need someone that is going to step in and be able to have access to your funds or, you know, to be able to continue life, you know, while you are recovering or if you're not going to recover until you pass.
Can I jump in here real
Please
quick,
do.
Corey? So if I don't have this stuff set up, particularly around things like my home mortgage, cars, other major, I don't want to say assets, but
Yeah,
things
that's
that
exactly
are
what
going
they
to
are. Yeah.
transfer the ownership, what happens to them?
Well, the companies that hold them, you know, so like your mortgage, you know, broker or your mortgage dealer or whatever, your bank, or if you have a car loan or something like that, they're not going to speak to anyone unless they have something written saying that they can. So you could pay, you know, so you could send money in, but it's not going to come out of their account because the banks aren't going to let you in to do that.
Mm,
So it's all going to sit there, or you're going to be paying for it yourself.
interesting.
It makes it a bit of a quandary, you know, or a real big problem, you know, that you're going to end up paying out of pocket because you're not going to have access to that person's funds, even if you're married to the person,
Hmm.
unless it is a joint account. If you have individual accounts, your husband or wife is not getting in. The bank could care less that you have a marriage certificate.
Wow.
I could tell you stories about especially wives whose husbands have everything in their names because they maybe are a little bit more old school than some of our younger generation.
Right.
The husband gets ill and the wife has access to nothing because
Mm.
they didn't create a power of attorney
And
or
under
didn't
those
make them joint.
and under those situations, eventually the property would get repossessed.
Either repossessed or they'd have to figure out how to refinance or do something. I don't know how that works because that the person who owns it can't sign. So yeah, you could end up losing your home.
And folks, this is all clearly something you want to avoid. So this is exactly why I wanted to have Kori on the show, because we have spent a lot of time talking a lot aspirationally about goals, dreams, having financial goals. We want to make sure that you're also doing what you need to do to protect what you have once you have it. Because on this show, we know that you are pursuing your goals and dreams, and we want to make sure that it's not all for nothing. And so the thing I just want to pivot into, Kori, is I know we're talking about some of the tragic instances when these things are not taken care of, but what are like the big beautiful possibilities when people get these things taken care of up front so that they don't have to worry about them later?
Yeah, I'm really glad you said that because I was like, I don't want to be the doom and gloom fairy. I hate
No,
it.
no, no, you're not, but I felt like it was important we talk about that for a
Yes.
moment.
I mean, I want you to hear it for reality check, not to scare you.
Mhm.
And you know what I mean? That we talked about those fears. I am all about empowerment. So let me tell you something. That's the beauty of what I do. Stop being scared about it and take a step forward. As long as you still have your right mind and you're still physically able, you can do something about this. And that's what's awesome. That's the beauty of it. You can come see someone like me and you can get that taken care of. So don't freak, just fix. All is good, you know? So that's why I say that I've had some awesome success stories too. And I love my success stories. I put them all over my website. I talk about them in my webinars. And truly, the most beautiful piece of having a complete and comprehensive plan is that it not only protects you, but those who come after you. And
Yeah.
that's why generational wealth is my jam. It is my passion. I love every minute of it. And what I also love is every single person 18 years and older can have it.
Yeah.
It does not require you being a millionaire or coming from money or whatever. I don't care if you have $1. I can teach you to make that dollar grow, work for you, and grow for your family. And that is the beauty in this. The analogy I use in my webinar, I actually do one that's called Generational Wealth on a Budget, is you've got a nest egg.
Mhm.
That nest egg can be built in several different ways, but my favorite way is through life insurance. So let's call the life insurance your nest egg.
Mhm.
What do you need to protect that egg? You need a carton, right?
Mhm.
Your carton is your estate plan. It is the
Got it.
bucket that that egg sits in. So you've got this little egg. He's in his little carton. You close it and it's protected. Now, we've got this egg, but you've got 11 other spaces in that carton. So now you need a financial planner, right?
Mhm.
That financial planner can make that egg turn from 1 to 12. So now you've got your carton and your egg is grown. So let's say now we've got that. Now let's also, you need a CPA. I know that I totally changed track on you, but this is what I want you to see. So now you need a CPA because we want to make sure that the government only gets a little bit of that shell and not a whole egg. Estate planning is a team sport. It really is. I'm going to put that on TM somewhere. I'm going to get that coined. Estate planning is a team sport. You need all four of us: estate planning attorney, financial advisor,
Mhm.
insurance agent, and a CPA. That's how generational wealth is born. And it doesn't matter because anybody, who's relatively healthy and young can get $1 million to $5 million policy on pennies on the dollar.
Yeah.
So think about it. You've made that nest egg. And if you've got the people that are around you that are going to protect that egg and make it grow, you can leave your children a huge legacy.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you this, and I know, again, this is a whole digression, but I love every minute of this. You asked me for the beauty. Here it is.
Yep. Let's hear it.
Generational wealth is only 5% stuff. Bet you didn't think that. Most people think generational wealth is stuff. It's, those 12 eggs. That is 5% of it. Now, I bet you want to know what that other 95% is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mindset. I'm going to tell you this right now. Mindset. 95% of it is how you think, what you've been taught, what you know about, the world around you, as well as about those eggs. And even better, what you teach to your children. I wish I could bring my son in here. I won't, but I wish I could, because he'll tell you right now about those eggs.
Mm-hmm.
I have taught him since he was a little kid. And it's all age appropriate. That my 5-year-old will tell you, my mama has a plan if something happens to her. And that's because I have been telling him, it's going to be all right. Here's what your mama's going to do for you. That's what you need. That's why we get so irritated with those trust fund babies. Like all those people that you're like, look at them on that tabloid again. There's a reason for that. I truly believe that their parents didn't take the time to explain to them, or they weren't listening. They could have taken the time and that kid just didn't care. But they may not have had the education of, I'm handing you this money, but here's what you need to do with it. Here's how you can make it grow.
Yeah.
So that's why I said you need that mindset, because if that 5% disappears, which it can, if you've got the right mindset, that won't matter, because you'll already know how to recultivate and start again.
Yeah. So where does somebody start with educating their children on finances? Because something that my wife and I talk about all the time, with children being on smartphones, tablets, so on and so forth, they are bombarded with images and messages to buy things, consume, consume, consume in a way that puts my generation to shame for sure.
Yeah.
And, even just thinking about video games, right? When I would go buy a video game when I was 9 years old, yes, it was $60, but that was the game, and that was the game forever. Now, our son Tucker, he will download a game, and then every couple of weeks, there's another thing to spend $10 on, and it's just endless. Like, I can't tell you how much money he has spent on Fortnite, and
Oh, don't even get me
that's not
started on Fortnite.
yeah, and that's not to throw any shade on my kid, but I'm asking because I know he's just one of millions of children that are consuming because they don't know any better. It's thrown at them and it's part of the culture. So I'd
Yes.
love your opinion on how education begins with our children.
Sure, no problem. So first of all, zero shade on Fortnite. I literally just kicked my 12-year-old out of this room because he was playing it. I was like, look, mommy's got to do this. You got to go. So I'm with you. So here's what I would say. It all really starts with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I am not, again, zero shade on you whatsoever, but that's where it starts. Whenever you allow your child to purchase something, the first thing you want them to know is, understand what that money is doing, understand what that purchase means. And so let's take Fortnite. You're buying this game. It's entertainment, it's fun, it's time online with your friends. That's all great and fabulous. But it is not the end all be all. As in, it is a form of entertainment. So if you want to upgrade it, because you're right, the downloadable content is insane. What does that mean? You have to understand that this is just not a base game. you're going to have to be willing to invest in upgrades, in whatever. Are you ready for that? And having them really understand what that means. And it's not just an automatic. So, I talk to my son all the time about what it means to be a consumer, what it means to purchase things, what it means to maintain, your items. You have to look at the long game when you make purchases.
Mhm.
You're right. Like when we were younger, it was you bought the game and there it was. But now you have to say, if you're going to get this bike, game, whatever, are you prepared for the things that are going to have to come after it? For the bike, you need to make sure the tires have air in them. They don't, what happens if they pop? What do you plan to do about it?
Mhm.
And if you want me to pay for it, what are we going to work out so that you do so?
Got it.
Both my children work for my firm. My oldest has a job, my youngest has a job. I
Mhm.
pay them both. Let's say my oldest wants one of those downloadable contents. He either has to go into his account and ask me to pay for it with his money, or if he doesn't have the money, he says to me, okay, mama, how many things do I have to do for you in order to get that item?
Mhm.
And that's a teaching moment. I sit there and I say, okay, so if this is how much I pay you, how much are you going to need in order to get that? The bigger thing for him are basketball shoes.
Ooh,
A
wow.
new pair of Jordans are upward of 250.
Yep. Yes, they are.
You want them Jordans? How many binders are you going to have to do before you can have them? And he'll tell me, all right, I need 8 binders. How many clients do you have coming up? And he's like, all right, ma, I'm ready. So he's like, can I have an advance or do I need to make the binders first? I said, I'll make you a deal. You can do 4 binders. I'll buy the shoes and then you can't have them until the other 4 are done. He goes, bet. All right, ma.
Wow.
That's what I'm talking about. I made it age appropriate.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with the fact that I'm handing him $250.
Mhm.
I'm getting him to think about what he needs to do in order to get those shoes.
Yeah, and I'm sure that there are also times where he runs the calculus for himself. He's like, "Hey, this isn't worth the thing that I want to buy."
Yep. And if that's the case, then that's all up to you. That's the beauty of it. I've given him the choice. And so, or he has to wait for his birthday or for Christmas if he wants me to buy it for him outright.
Yeah.
It's just simple things that you can just get your kids to think about, and that actually is what builds generational wealth. I have now taught my child the value of saving, working towards something, preserving, and being reverent for money. So when I pass and he inherits what his father and I, have built, he's already been learning. So when he gives it to his children, nah, y'all not getting it outright. Your grandmother didn't give me anything. Here's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say it's all about planting those seeds and making it about them and not about I'm hammering things into you.
Yeah, of course. Of course. And I just want to take a little bit further because I think this is really important and
Sure.
really juicy. So we obviously just covered the spending. What about saving? Like, how
Uh-huh.
do you and your husband reinforce the saving? Because the debt figure on credit cards here in America is absolutely staggering. I know it's well over. I don't even know the number. It keeps going
It's
up and up. It's in the
probably an
trillions.
infinity somewhere on a
Yeah.
yeah.
But the point is we are not a nation of savers. We are a nation of spenders and consumers. So how do you advise people listening to this start teaching those saving habits to their children?
Sure. Yeah. So each of my children has a savings account and they don't have access to it because they're minors. It's in my husband and my name. But they ask me, how much money do I have? And so I log in and I show them. And they love seeing that there's a number in there. So
Mhm.
if I can say to them, I'm not telling you that you can't spend money, But if that number drops below a certain amount and then you need something, what's going to happen? We can't have it. That's right. You can't have it. So you have to keep in the back of your mind, I need to keep this level so that in case I need something, not just I want something, it's there for you. I said, obviously I don't talk to them about, all of our finances because that's just too much for them. But
Right.
I showed them my husband and I showed them our savings account. I said, this is our emergency fund. If something went down where we needed something, I want you to know your father and I could take care of it because we've been taught this is how much we needed to save. So now my children go, okay, so if I needed something, but I bought all these Jordans, then I won't have it. And I'm like, yep. And that's when you'd have to come to the bank of mom and dad. And that's we're going to have to talk about how to fix that.
Hmm.
So, we kind of make it more of a game. Our 5-year-old will tell me, I didn't spend my money, Aaron spent his, so I'm still good. you know, so it's kind of a game for them, which is fine. They're kids, and so that's why I say to you that it's never too early. Once they understand language and they can start understanding, cause and effect, why not show them, you have a penny in here. If we put another penny in here, you have two, if we take one and put it in two separate pennies and we only take from this one's still here. So it shows them that they can still do, but this one's over here waiting for me just in case. I know that it sounds heavy for kids, but like I said, gamify it. It does not have to be heavy.
Yeah, I'm hearing you say make it fun, make it age appropriate, make it attainable.
Yeah. So that's why I say, if you teach your children now what that's going to require, then when they get to be an adult, it's already ingrained in them. They already know what to do. It's not something they then have to crash learn the hard way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And folks, if you're listening to this, whether you have children or not, I want you to also hear that there's never a wrong time to start.
No.
Obviously, the best time to start saving money, planning for the future was 20 years ago. The second best time is right here, right now, in the present moment.
Yep.
And so, with that in mind, if somebody was to walk into your office or any other uh sorry somebody was to walk into your office, what would you want them to have prepared so that they can really just hit the ground running getting started?
Well, before I do that, I want you to know something. A lot of people don't end up coming to see me, especially if they are older and haven't done it, because they're embarrassed or they feel shame about
Ooh,
it.
okay.
I'm going to put it to you right now. I am a zero shame lawyer. Zero shame. Anybody that's out there that's going to shame you because you haven't done it is not for you. You need someone that is going to embrace the fact that you walked in the door.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's important, not that you didn't walk in 10 years ago. You made the decision to do something for you, and that's beautiful. I tell my clients on the regular, there's no judgment here. None. I'm proud of you for walking through that door. So let's sit down and make this work. So I want to put that caveat out there right now. Do not let anybody shame you because they're not for you. That's number one. Second, what I do for my clients is I give free consultations. And I actually will give them to anybody across the country, even though I can only write documents in Ohio. Because being able to sit down and talk to somebody about what you want, about what this estate planning, thing is all about, is your first step. If you don't understand, come talk to me. I'm more than happy to talk to you about it. Even if I then have to help you find someone wherever you are. That's first. After we figured out what your plan is, what your desires are, what is it that you want to do? What I do my documents in packages. because I truly believe that every single one of them is necessary. I do not do piecemeal unless you can prove to me that you've already got the other documents and they are up to date. And I know cost is a big deal for people. I understand it. And I'm not cheap. I'll say that up front. I know that. But I meet people where they are. I'll make sure that cost is not the reason you walk away. Even though I know my own worth, I also know yours. And I want to make sure that you get where you're going. So we make sure what package is right for you. So people who are coming in to see me, I really just want you to come as you are. We will figure out what you need to bring for me next, and we'll go from there. Do not feel like you need to be, a huge binder worth of stuff for me. No. Let's talk. I want to hear from you before I tell you what I think you need. So that's why I tell people, I just want you to come sit down and have a conversation with me. And I know a lot of other attorneys want you to bring your bank statements and all that jazz, and that's great. But what's that really doing for you?
Yeah. It actually seems like it's another potential source of shame.
Exactly. That's why I said you can't come at this with shame. That's why people die without documents.
Yeah. And if you're hearing this, folks, yes, your bank accounts are a statement of fact. Like there's no changing the facts of what is there or not, the amount of debt you have or lack thereof. But don't let that be the reason that you don't get things in order now, just because you're holding on to some ideal that things need to look a certain way before you do so.
Yes.
And so, Kori, I know that we're running short on time. How do people get the process started with you?
Sure. You can visit my website, which is www.kwhisenant, and that's KWHIS as in Sam, E as in Edward, N as in Nancy, N as in Nancy, T, law, LAW.com. So Kwhisenant law is all one word.com. And you can click on the little blue button that is at the top of the screen that says schedule a consultation. They will take you to my calendar and you are welcome to get on it. Again, I don't care where you're listening from. If you need advice and you need to talk to somebody so that you can figure out what you need, what you want, call me. The other thing is I have other products, even if I can't write for you, I have other products that are universal. And so if you are interested in working with me, but you're not in the state of Ohio, don't let that stop you. I'm here and you and I can see what maybe we can do together. So I am happy to help you. My mission is to erase the shame and get everybody off their bottoms and getting that done. I actually have a free challenge. I have created a challenge that anybody 18 and over can take. My next time I'm doing it is May 20th through the 25th. And it's called From Procrastination to Prepared in 5 days. I literally lead you one day at a time through creating a blueprint for your estate plan. And I have interactive, I let you ask me questions. You literally get a week with me for free. So I would love to be able to have anybody listening. If you're interested, feel free to, get on my website or contact me. And I'd love for you to sign up so that if you're freaking out about this or you're not sure, that's a great way for you to be able to see what it's all about and to get prepared.
We will make sure all of Kori's contact information, ways to get in contact with her are made readily available in the show notes, the descriptions, and anywhere else this episode is going to be posted. So we want to be sure that you are taking action, not only for yourself, y'all, but for your family. And can't think of a better person than Kori to help you get started. Again, she is licensed in the state of Ohio, but as she said, is willing to speak to anybody listening to this across the country. Kori, this is something we do with all of our guests on this show as a tradition, kind of our final question as we begin to take this out. What are you acknowledging yourself for today?
Ooh, good one. Okay. What am I acknowledging myself for today? I acknowledge. Hmm, that's good. Okay. I want to get a good one for this one. Let me think. That I am taking messy action.
Ooh.
My word of the year. I do a class with a friend of mine that is, what is your word of the year? Or it can be a phrase. And mine is unapologetic action this year.
Let's go.
I am I'm a perfectionist at heart.
Mhm.
Not having things, as I told you in the beginning, not having things dotted and T'd makes me a little creepy. I am forcing myself to take messy action every single day. So I acknowledge myself for waking up this morning and having an agenda, but whatever I get done today, I am proud of myself for.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it's not up to us what actually gets done in a day. So I acknowledge you for stepping into the uncertainty, into the trust that is inherent when we step into that messy action. And I'm certain you're creating new and amazing results for yourself and your clients and your family as a result.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah, especially with little kids, there is no guaranteed time for anything. So, and I embrace it.
Not even a little bit.
Not even. Yes. So I embrace it. We roll with it. And that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur. So I'm excited.
Well, folks, this has been another episode of Your Inside Track to Success. As always, I'm your host, Stewart Kraintz. We will be back next week with another amazing guest or message. If you got any value out of today's episode, which I know you did, please share this out. Please make sure that you are doing your part in supporting people like Kori and supporting people like yourselves so that her wisdom, her knowledge, her expertise can make it across all the airwaves and people can start planning for their family's future. So, y'all, again, thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next week.